The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Undisputed Era has arrived.
You have the 25 days of Christmas. Impact's going to have the 25 days of releases.
I send it you to deletion! Yeah!
It's hashtag Alpha versus Omega.
Let's just say hashtag aroused.
No, you're going to step in that ring, and you're going to be looking at me eye to eye, and you're going to realize you ain't got a chance.
Thank God we don't have to talk about it anymore, because she got that cancer out of there.
Sean stole my answer. I'm just glad we don't have to talk about this anymore.
And that's not an insult, that is just a fact of life. Yes. Bray Wyatt, I concur. The Great War is far from over. But if you wish to clash once again, it cannot be contained inside the mortal realm known as WWE. There is only one battlefield that is worthy of such cosmic combat. The Hardy Compound! The battlefield has been prepared for annihilation. And Bray Wyatt, if you dare, prepare yourself for the ultimate deletion!
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
And what's up, Doc? It's time for another great episode of Wrestling to the Max, episode 289, part 1. And yes, that's right. I brought to you my impression because Harry Broadhurst can start his shows with the cartoon impressions. So can I, gosh darn it. I am Gary Vaughan, your host, and tonight I am, of course, with Mr. Sean Garmer.
I love that Gary is taking impression advice from Harry here. But he did it about like 30 million tons better, so it's fine.
And here's Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
Guys, yeah, sorry. I after watching Monday Night Raw on several occasions where I was reminded, like Paul, we talked about this, Looney Tunes on the episode of Raw that we did for the review. Mm-hmm. So I got that on the brain now. Thanks a lot, Paul.
I'm here for you, buddy.
Yeah. So now I'm going to be up all night watching Wile E. Coyote and all his friends, and yeah. So, but before we do that, we got to talk wrestling, of course, and we got a lot of quick hits tonight. A lot of great news topics to talk about. Some exciting things, some pretty wild things. It's going to be a lot of fun. This episode will be really just chock full of good stuff. But guys, just to throw this out there, I, of course, want you to know that I'm still making my way to this weekend. I got a big weekend coming up, and I'm really dreading it. I don't like traveling as much, so I'm, of course, going to be hitting home right about the time that Fastlane is going to start. So it's going to be a crazy weekend for me. I don't know about you guys. Anything going on special with you, Paul?
I completely spaced that Fastlane is this weekend. Oh, my God.
So I was going to say Gary's going to be stuck in the slow lane, but...
I will be.
Yeah.
I will be.
I've spent the last, this previous weekend sick with the flu, which I still have some of today, so I've been much more aware than I thought I was going to be for the shows so far. So things are looking up, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Good. At least, the evil flu is not taking you down like many people, So it kept you down for a minute, but you didn't let it take you down for sure. So
well, it's killed people this go around, so I'm still above ground. That's a bonus.
You can kick out, and that's the most important thing.
That's true.
So, Sean, man, what's going on with you, buddy?
Well, the first thing about my job is it's like Fight Club. You can't talk about it. So that's about as far as I can go with that. No, seriously, I am under NDA. I cannot talk about what happens there. But no, so I did get through orientation and some training. I have to do more training, and then I officially get to start my schedule, hopefully. So at least progress being made to being hopefully happily employed. We'll see how that goes. But other than that, just hanging out and enjoying this new bad habit maybe that I have of collecting Funko Pops. So yeah.
It's some people would say bad habit. I think it's kind of cool that you get something to do and that you really enjoy. Not only that, your daughter can enjoy with you, man. So, some people would say, "Oh, man, you're spending money on that." But you know what? If it's something that's going to bring you memories and you just enjoy it, to me, it's not a bad thing. There's a lot of other hobbies you could be doing right now that would be very bad. So, that's a good one.
I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So. Oh man, but so all of us seem like we got lots of things going on, and this weekend, like I said, is going to be crazy. I think for all of us, we've all got a lot of things going on in our lives right now. So just to make sure everybody does remember, Fastlane is coming, and we will be doing a review show of that. Of course, don't forget to come check us out. That'll be Monday morning for you guys to go and find on your car ride to work. So don't forget about that and all our other great stuff. And the way to find that, of course, is W2Mnet.com. That's, of course, the place you go find all our great podcasts and a lot more. Don't forget to go hit that subscribe button, rate and review over at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network, where you'll get all the great things that W2Mnet.com has to offer. And make sure you give some big love to 411mania.com. They are supporters of ours, and we, of course, are supporters of theirs. So thanks a lot to those guys. But yeah, I think it's time. Let's get into some of this wrestling news, guys.
Before we start, I just want to give, I don't know if she'll listen or not, but just want to give a nice shout out to my co-host on the soccer podcast, Rachel McCrigger. She now writes in the soccer section for Last Word. So
cool.
Even more reason to appreciate them.
Definitely. Awesome. Congrats to her for sure, man. All right. Well, it's time for Quick Hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick Hits.
Go for it, Gary.
All right. Well, let's talk about the latest Hall of Fame inductee that will be taking place, and that guy is Hillbilly Jim. That's right. He will be inducted to the Hall of Fame, of course, at WrestleMania weekend. I think that this whole thing has been a really big swerve because all the names that I've heard as of late have not been Hillbilly Jim. So this, to me, is kind of cool, though. I really like the guy. I, of course, watched him in that the WB show. What was it called?
Legends House.
Legends House. I loved him in Legends House. But, of course, he had a great career besides just that.
Yeah, I mean, during his, no pun intended, his heyday, Hillbilly Jim was one of the most over faces on the roster. Never a champion or anything like that, but certainly someone that people would come out to see and all that great stuff. And, of course, he had his time as manager with the Godwins and a whole host of other things. Like, this guy spun off an entire family of characters for the WWE. Like, it's nuts how over this guy was. So, I think this is well deserved. This is another one that's gotten a lot of flack online as to why he's being inducted. This is a guy that did some serious business for this company.
Yeah, sometimes I think people look at, championships or, hey, was this guy a name or whatever. And it's, honestly, when I heard his name be announced, I'm like, what? He's not in the Hall of Fame already?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a guy that when, they were first sort of really getting popular, before Hogan came and everything, he was one of the people that you were relying on, not just because, look, this is a big wrestler. This is back in the day when, being big was your gimmick, right? So he's like, what, 7'3", or something like that? I mean,
he's not short is the answer, because I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there. He's basketball size, so, I mean, like that was his thing. And not only that, I mean, obviously, I think, he gets remembered being in the, midget match at WrestleMania 3. Before the company was what it is, he is one of the guys that's like sort of the unsung heroes of why it became something. Just, he didn't win all the accolades or whatever that people were thinking about. And that's I think where you're going. Why him? But hey, if you have a lot of Hall of Fame, if this is the Hall of Fame with a lot of people that maybe you don't know why they're in, maybe that says a lot about how deep WWE's history goes.
Yeah, and it's so really interesting to see how the WWE presented this guy, how really honestly they portrayed him and how much they respect him, and I just think so much of the guy, and I of course. It's kind of funny because when you watch Legends House, you realize about his personal life and how he holds himself and what he does and all those things. And you really get happy when you see someone that's that genuine lifestyle, just the straight up good guy getting this opportunity, getting into the Hall of Fame. It's a big deal for him, I know, and I'm really, really happy for him. So it's good stuff. It really is. And by the way, Paul, the answer to the height thing should have been Street Profits.
Oh,
then you would have been right.
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so just make sure you're correct next time. Well, we got some other interesting news coming out this week, and it involves Brock Lesnar. Yeah, that's right. It's not UFC talk, though. It's really honestly about the WWE. He recently met with Vince McMahon, and it is rumored that meeting did not go so well. No, it's not that Brock's asked for more money or maybe more dates off. No, what it is apparently Vince, got to the table and said, hey, we're still interested, but have you had any involvement with Richard Rodriguez or any of these steroid scandal stuff? What's going down with Roman Reigns? And Brock said, yeah. So that, of course, made Vince and the company a little bit leery of the whole situation. They backed away. And the rumor is that really pissed off Brock Lesnar to a big degree. So this is interesting. I mean, Sean, you can't blame Vince. And, of course, it looked like Brock was on his way out anyway.
Well, right. You don't want he's been in a steroid scandal much bigger than this one before. Mm-hmm. He is all too familiar with this. He does not want the company involved in any of that. It's enough with Roman, who, is the company's big star, or who Vince wants to be the big star. You don't want the other guy involved in the WrestleMania main event to also be involved in that as well, and you're trying to re-sign him, and then big news, I'm sure he would be all over ESPN once again with his, he's signed again with WWE for however long, and the next blurb would be, well, he's also involved in the steroid scandal thing. And it's like, you don't really want that. So I don't blame him. And honestly, for me, I think, look, Brock is big business. The dude has been very smart with his money, and he obviously doesn't want that to be affected. I don't blame him at all for being upset about this if it's true, period. But, it probably would maybe brings his price down a little bit with UFC if he knows he doesn't have a bargaining chip at all. And that might be what he's more worried about.
It could be. There's a lot going on here, too. Like, apparently Brock, and this is all heavy rumors, too, just because I don't know if I necessarily believe all this, but apparently Brock pointed out Triple H as an example of them pushing somebody who was using steroids before, right? So, sort of throwing that back in Vince's face. This is really interesting,
Let's go with the old shot, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's related now, right? You gotta take a cheap shot where you can. This is WWE's game plan right now, right? Until this documentary comes out and they see all the proof that this guy supposedly has, they're going to play wait and see. And, we talked about them maybe having a backup plan in case Roman does get outed, and the proof seems pretty legit in that they have Braun Strowman sort of waiting in the wings to take his spot if that happens. But, I mean, what happens if Brock is incriminated in all this too, right? So there's a lot on the line here, and I don't really blame either side for feeling the way they feel, but as far as WWE goes as a business, I think what Sean said is pretty spot on. They have to be careful.
I mean, Gary, the guy that they had to have voice over this documentary, Big Papa Pump,
Yeah. Oh man, you know how much I would be in favor of the documentary then. I'll be honest with you. I was just talking to somebody.
How many times would he forget what he's supposed to say? And then you would just feel laughing through the whole thing. That would be amazing.
I wouldn't even really care what he said as long as he says, "This is your big bad booty daddy." And then I would be down. I just repeat it or just rewind. Okay, rewind. So, oh boy, yeah. This is going to be an interesting documentary, no matter if that does happen or not. I think there's going to be a lot of things that are be said in that documentary that we'll all be kind of scratching our head or being like, oh, wow, that could or may not be true. I don't know. And then they show evidence where we're going to all be, I think, mystified by some of the things we'll find out. So it's going to be something of the future. But, if Brock is, of course, one of those other people inundated by this stuff, I mean, WWE needs to separate themselves quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because this stuff is not good for their image at all, especially with all the kid stuff.
It doesn't help Brock either for his UFC stuff either. If he's doing steroids or he gets again, if you don't get banned for this, UFC's probably going to stay away from you because it probably won't take much for you to get banned by USADA again, right? Like for Roman, let's be honest. I mean, this is wrestling and guys taking steroids is not, anything new. And we've heard the rumors of Vince doesn't really even care if they necessarily do or not. They just have to test for it because they have to put it in there. Mm-hmm. And if it was up to Vince, it wouldn't even be in there. So I don't know if this is totally, if it wasn't for the scandal part, I don't think this would really be a big deal for Roman.
Yeah.
Me and Gary were talking about this on Thursday. I think the bigger deal is if the evidence seems pretty solid against Roman and your wellness policy test didn't pick anything out. That's a big black eye, I think, for the company. So I think that's something they really have to be worried about no matter, how Vince feels about it. You have a very public policy against this, and if that suddenly isn't picking up what Roman's putting down in the cup, we're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, now you look at the NFL and the concussion protocol and how they still get, blamed for many, many things despite the fact that they have testing for concussions. And it's not good enough for the, people out there, family members of these players and things like that. And the same will go for WWE. Hopefully that test stands strong. So it doesn't, oh man, then you're really going to see a fireball hit that company. So let's see what goes down.
It's the truth about it always being about the bottom line, right? Because in certain games, when there's certain players, if they're going to be out, sometimes you look the other way, right? We can't lose that guy. So somebody's got, just act like let's act like we checked him out and then maybe nobody will notice or it'll be a big deal after the game and, it'll blow over.
Exactly.
It's crazy how even NFL that tries to be all, hey, we're protecting his concussions. We still have those moments where the game is and the money is still bigger.
Exactly. Hey, you're totally right. That's a deal, and it's going to be ongoing until this whole thing kind of gets cleared, and then it'll be a long time before it does. But I think WWE is definitely going to try to do their best to keep themselves out of trouble, but it's going to be really hard, and especially with more and more coming out. So. Well, something that happened that really bummed people out, maybe WWE and some other people, of course, and other promotions. Rey Mysterio apparently got injured at a Northeast show this past weekend, and it could be a bicep tear. That's the rumor going around. That could have affect, of course, his negotiations with WWE, and also affect that big match that we were going to get at Strong Style Evolve between himself and Jushin Thunder Liger, which that would be a huge, huge hit to that show, missing out on that action. Paul, I mean, this is the wrong time to be having injuries for Rey.
Right. The Strong Style Evolve thing is a big deal, for sure, and I'm sure it was drawing people. And it's technically still on the card. It has not been taken off because they still don't know for sure, as far as we're aware here outside of Rey Mysterio's life, obviously, that if he actually has a bicep tear or not, but that's what everybody thinks it is. He was supposedly supposed to meet with the WWE before the event to negotiate, and Triple H had to go to Saudi Arabia, which we forgot to talk about this on the Raw review, but they're going to have like a 50-person Rumble out there or something like that, which is kind of nuts, but, so I mean, this really, really has to sting, in more ways than one, obviously, than just physical pain, wallet pain, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really hurts his comeback tour that he was doing. I mean, he looked really good when he came back at the Rumble, and then all of a sudden it didn't take very long, and he's injured, and it's always sad when those things happen, right? It's just you got to feel bad for him. Hopefully, it's not the bicep tear, just because, look, I know there's a lot of people who don't want to see the rumored WrestleMania match that was going to happen, and that's all fine and good, but no doubt it was going to draw people, or be one of the draws of that show, and then also a big draw for the Strong Style Evolved show, and both companies lose out on big matches, and it's not good.
Not at all. And, this is the risk you take, when you got a guy like Rey Mysterio who's up in age, he's been through many, many matches and put his body through the ringer. These kind of things do crop up, especially when you get older. You hear all the time when age comes, lots of less healthy moments for you because, your bones and stuff may be strong, but it doesn't mean your muscles are. Things like that tend to tear easier. Just a lot of, life becomes more difficult for you when you get older. So Rey and many other people, we're seeing Bobby Fish, NXT's own, got injured this past weekend as well at an NXT show. So that's another guy that, could be on the shelf. He walked away from it, but he still, could have something serious. Who knows? So these older guys, Paul, they just, they're taking these risks every time they get in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby isn't exactly young, and he's obviously in a bit of a position of importance down there in NXT because the Undisputed Era is not only the tag champs, but they're getting a huge push. So I doubt taking Bobby Fish away from the equation is going to hurt things a lot, other than maybe the title reign. But until we really know what it is, it's hard to say what it is, if he's going to miss time or anything like that. But I think leaving under your own power is usually a pretty good sign, although this doesn't always prove to be true either. So certainly something to keep an eye on going forward for sure, though.
Yeah, definitely. And, I really hope that him and Rey, get better, and hopefully they can actually fulfill the commitments that they want to fulfill. Let's just hope that all works out for them.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is something I don't want to report, but I know, Sean, you can't wait to talk about this. Jonathan Coachman has been named, that's right, he's named in a lawsuit by former ESPN anchor and analyst Adrienne Lawrence, and, of course, she is accusing him of none other than sexual harassment. Yeah, she's, of course, going to be one of those Me Too people because, if this really did happen, this is bad for Coachman. The New York Post is, of course, announcing this, and WWE is now, investigating it on their own side. They're really kind of curious what's going on and trying to see if, really Coachman is in trouble for this. This is a big, big issue right now in our society, and I just never thought Coach would be a part of that whole thing, Sean.
I did not either. I don't think anyone. But that's what have we learned throughout this whole ordeal, right? you just never know anymore who's doing what and really what constitutes sexual harassment to people. Because sometimes, it can be as simple saying one thing and not liking it and then deciding that, okay, I've been harassed now and we're going to take that up to the food chain. Or it's really just down and dirty, awful stuff, and you should be absolutely punished for it, like, Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K. and various other people. And, if Coach is one of those, then, hey, you know what? It should not take very long for WWE to be like, all right, yoink, you are off Raw, and we are not talking about you until this is resolved. But if he doesn't go off of Raw, you'd have to think that they have some pretty good evidence that maybe says this is not as big a deal as she was making it seem. But again, don't want to point fingers one way or another. This is a serious thing, and until it is proven otherwise, you kind of have to take it that way. Yeah.
And it's not just Coachman that's been named here too. There's a whole ton of ESPN talent that's apparently been named in this lawsuit, including Chris Berman. It's really, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm kind of not anymore. And I don't want to say I'm numb to the situation because this is still terrible if it actually happened. But I mean, we hear about this so much now, as Gary was just saying. It's just become such a huge problem that, I mean, who couldn't do it is sort of the bigger question now, just because everybody else seems to. And apparently it's a bigger deal around ESPN before, because I could have sworn that over the years, this isn't the first time we've heard about a sexual harassment suit happening in the company.
Right. And, so many of the big, and that's the thing too, right? When you get to become an ESPN anchor, you're on TV a lot. You kind of get an ego about yourself, and it doesn't matter what you have in your personal life. Sometimes you think that you deserve things because of who you are, and that doesn't always mean, that does not mean that you get to, just do whatever you want. And I think that's what what you're trying to prove here with all these lawsuits and stuff is that it doesn't matter all these allegations and all these things. It's trying to prove that, hey, don't use your authority or your celebrity to impose yourself on people that don't want that attention. So perhaps it will lead to different changes within ESPN culture. And the thing is too, right? It's not excusing it at all, but we got to remember that times in the 90s or whatnot is different than times right now. People got away with, and not even talking about older times where, Nolan Bushnell did not receive an award because you had people bring up allegations that happened, in the 70s with Atari and whatnot. So, and imagine what kind of time the 70s was. So, it's crazy to think that I'm glad that we're not being prejudiced about certain eras or whatever. Just saying, okay, look, this happened, and we're going to bring all this out, no matter when it did.
I agree, and it's sadly a trend that none of us want to talk about. None of us want to hear about, but we've got to report it. It's there. I always hate talking about this stuff, not just because it's a subject that's, not really involving what we're supposed to be here to talk about is wrestling, and not, of course, crimes or lawsuits or anything like that. But it's for the fact that really, it's all hearsay. You just don't know. And that's what kind of makes me a little leery of all this. Coach could have definitely done it, and I wish I could honestly tell you yes or no he did or didn't. But right now we're just under the assumption that he's being accused, and it's a lot of allegeds will be thrown out there. So we'll just have to keep following this whole story. I just think it's a real big bummer because, you'd think Coach is a pretty decent guy, and you would hate to find out that he is not as decent of a guy as we all thought or knew him to be. So there you go on that. Here's some good news, or maybe if you're really into the cruiserweights, 205 Live will possibly be debuting some new titles. That's right. And those titles could be the tag team titles for the cruiserweight division. It is reported by PWI that they're looking to possibly be releasing these for after WrestleMania. So WWE will probably make more of a formal announcement post WrestleMania time. Paul, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing this because 205 Live has been a blast to watch. Adding tag titles is not a bad idea in my opinion.
I think this is a really neat idea, especially in the new direction they're going, right? 205 Live has sort of become more isolated. There's not as much crossover to Raw every week as there was. You have to have the network. You have to watch the show there, and they've been giving you a very good reason to do so recently because there have been some phenomenal matches taking place over the last month. So, I really can't. The title tournament, obviously, for the singles belt is going to culminate at WrestleMania, which should be really cool. Even though I'm sure it might end up on the pre-show, it's still, I think, really neat. And adding tag titles, anytime you add more people to do flippies, you're going to have a good time. That's what Cruiserweight Tag Team titles are going to mean.
And I think it helps the guys that are probably at this point not going to get big singles pushes, but they could certainly become a big tag team or become, maybe they have more reason to have like stables or eventually down the line you have like trios titles or whatever that, you can form more teams, form more different groupings and get people excited to watch them that way. Because, let's face it, it's a small show. It's a 1 hour show. There's only going to be so many guys that are going to be able to contend and be like true stars and main eventers of that division. You got to have something for the other guys to do, and having tag titles, I think, is a way to push them and get them their own spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, once again, I mean, if they continue what they're doing right now at the moment with 205 Live, there's just so many more great storylines that can be put in. But not only that, some great tag matches that I know that'll be put in on display for the fact that they've got so much talent right now. So I'm on board. I really am. And especially if they're going to do more crossover from NXT and add more people in from that realm, you've got some opportunities right in your hands to really showcase some great talent. So tag titles are good with me. Let's talk about another rumor that's interesting, and this one does involve NXT, that, it looks like in November we may not be getting War Games again this year. That kind of bums me out, Sean. They really didn't say why, but...
Other way, Gary. Will do War Games again.
Oh, I was bummed out. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. I was like, man, Sean, that sucks. So, I'm glad. Yes, we're going to get it. Now my heart has been lifted from the draw. I was reading it fast, and now... Oh, my gosh. So, Sean, what do you think? Are you glad War Games is coming back? I'm obviously.
Patience, young grasshopper.
I know. Sorry.
For those who, you get the wonderful glory of getting this match again. Look, they did it great the first time. I think people are still going to be upset that it's not the original way, but I think the fact that this is happening again is great news. I love the fact that they went out and did it. I figured, okay, this is going to be a one-time special thing. We won't see it again. And hey, if it's only a once-a-year thing for the Survivor Series takeover, then it gives you something to look forward to every year, and that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we obviously don't know the format or how they're going to change it up again or who's going to be in it, but just doing the match again, it's another draw for Survivor Series weekend, which is, I mean, it's already out in LA this year, which is going to be pretty easy, I think, to get people to show up, but I think you put War Games in the title, people are going to keep coming, and especially with how great the first one was. So,
I'm so glad it's going to take place, and I'm excited about it. And you're right. If they can do anything close to what it was last year, I think people are going to be thrilled. So I'm so glad that War Games will be back this year. Good job on them. Now, I think I got ahead of myself and got a little negative too early because I think the next story that I was reading back to back with that one kind of got me on the negative side. Recently, a fan asked Chris Jericho if he was going to be with New Japan, and apparently he says, unfortunately, he will not be because, some other things are going on. Could this be a swerve? Could he just be Chris Jericho trying to throw us off that route of him and Naito having a big match in the near future? I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Paul? Jericho
has been known to work fans on the internet before. This happened on Twitter. So, of course, grain of salt. But if true, this really sucks. I was pretty hyped for Jericho Naito, which apparently was being rumored for Dominion. And that would have been another great draw to try to get over, international fans. And even, of course, the Japanese faithful to turn out en masse to Osaka.
I feel like this is just what you said, Paul. Jericho working the fans because you're asking questions on Twitter for a match that, was scheduled, got pulled, got put somewhere else. I mean, unless he's all of a sudden signing with WWE again, which I guess you could never rule that out. I feel like he knows, Naito knows, New Japan knows what they have with that match. And I think kind of simmering down the hype a little bit is not that bad of a deal. Like, do you want to put it out there that quickly before you have the chance to really, really do something and put it in motion? I don't know. I think what was great about the Kenny and Ibushi stuff was that it had kind of sort of been you knew it was there, but you didn't know exactly when it was going to happen or whatever, right? So I think it's sort of the same thing with Jericho and Naito, where let's let the thing happen, and we don't need to be, oh my God, it's happening at Dominion, it's happening at Dominion, it's happening at Dominion. I feel like he's just messing with that fan because he just asked that question, but we'll see. Yeah.
You know what? To me, it's smart because, you put people down, you say, okay, that's not happening, that sucks, and then you bring them right back up when you say, haha, you thought it wasn't, it is happening. So you guys are right. I think that's the game plan there. Very, very hopeful, though, that that's our opinion, and our opinion becomes truth.
Jericho putting people down on Twitter, nothing
new there. Yeah.
At all. I was gonna say, you don't want to ruin Gary's, creative juices quickly. I mean, he's made babies because of that match was happening. So now, you don't want to let him down.
Just, Chris Jericho, please give me a warning before this match does happen. I will be getting fixed that day. So thank you. I appreciate it. Just let me know that I can't afford any more kids. And that's just start sending some.
Vasectomy.
Yeah. I'll have to start sending them to Florida or over to Paul's house across town. So, anyway, this is some good news. We have New Japan announcing that their new dojo in LA will have a head trainer in Katsuyori Shibata. So that's awesome. I mean, that's a great deal. What a talented guy, and for him to be head trainer over there, that's going to be great for people, heading over to LA.
I kind of wish they came up for a different head trainer. Just seems wrong.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Just thinking about. Oh man, I felt bad for even laughing. But
Dylan, he didn't cause it himself. So.
He did. It's true. It's true. I thought of it and laughed pretty hard. I thought it was funny. Either way,
this such a bad person, Paul.
Yeah. Well, shocker to no one. Shibata, I mean, if you're at the dojo, you're going to learn from somebody who, I think just very clearly exudes what New Japan is looking for in this day and age. Is somebody who can work about as snug as possible. And obviously, maybe not a great choice maker as far as when to work less snug, but, he's so good, right? And he probably still is. It's just he can't do it anymore. So, this is a great move. He's a tremendous wrestler. Great way to keep him with the company. I love this move.
Yeah, I love the move just because I'm glad to know that Shibata is doing well enough that he could train people and be in the ring again in some capacity. I think, secondly, he's a guy that's been through the system all the way through. Right? He's been a young lion before. He, kept that whole sort of young lion garb for most of his career and was able to just. It took him a while to sort of become the guy that, New Japan wanted him to be, and right when that moment was hitting for him, sadly, the career was cut short. But I think he's somebody that shows you can also be a late bloomer and still make it. It doesn't have to hit immediately for you. You can work, just be there, and also go away and come back and be something for New Japan as well. I think it's a lesson also in don't hurt the company that does stuff for you. There's a lot of lessons you can learn from Shibata if you're a young lion coming up. So much he could teach you, not just in the ring, but from so many outside perspectives that he has that are rather unique.
Yeah, definitely. And this guy, is a tried and true legend. He'll have a lot to offer. And man, I mean, like I said, if you are going to be working in that dojo, as a young lion, as anybody just training, you're so lucky because this guy, has a wealth of knowledge that he is about to give out. So really happy for him though. That's a really good deal. And, once again, I can't call Paul a bad person because that's the pot calling the kettle black thing. So I've said, I think, probably much worse. Here's a good thing. September 1st. Yes, that's right. That's a date to circle on your calendar because All In is happening, and it's going to be taking place in Chicago, Illinois at the Sears Center Arena. I mean, not a bad place. Chicago, is a big deal when it comes to wrestling. You just ask Patrick Ketza. I mean, Sean, do you think that's a good place?
I mean, it's technically an hour outside Chicago. So, I think Chicagoans like Patrick are going to be a little, they're going to laugh about it, and they're going to, poke fun at the fact that they're calling it Chicago. But still, you're still in the area, right? We've seen people make trips from Philadelphia to other shows around in that area, from New York, from other places. Chicago's sort of that like middle America, like wrestling hotspot, and whether you're an hour away from Chicago or you're 10 hours away from Chicago, people are still going to go because this is All In. It's a huge event, and I guess now will be the time to tell, right, if they can sell these tickets.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty psyched. I mean, it's the same, like whenever TNA ran here for Bound for Glory, they said it was in Dallas when it's out in Arlington. It's the same thing. That's an hour away. Mm-hmm. It's not Dallas at all. So
I mean, TV can't even get it right when they, show the Cowboys games sometimes. So.
It's true. I think this is cool. This is sort of where we had been led to believe it was going to take place, and as far as Chicago, quote unquote, goes. So, it's easy access. I think 40 minutes away from O'Hare, which is the big airport down there. That's not too bad. And rental car, hotel, you're good to go. You're not too far from the city either.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they were thinking about this. They were thinking about other cities, but I mean, Chicago, once again, just a great location for wrestling in general. So smart on them.
I think it also helps the fans that are coming in, right? Because if you're having to go into the city proper to get a hotel and all that's going to be a lot more expensive than going an hour away or, 15 minutes away from where the arena is, but like 45 minutes away from the city, stuff's generally a little bit cheaper that way.
Yeah, I can only imagine what arenas were trying to charge them for the rental for the evening within the city proper, right? I mean, I bet you it's probably something astronomical compared to what they're getting out here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, and if you're having problems finding a good place to stay, just get a hold of Patrick. I'm sure you can sleep on his couch, or maybe with him, he'll cuddle with you,
Well, I mean, think about it for WrestleMania, right? Like, you're trying to get a hotel in New Orleans, probably going to cost you a pretty penny, right? But if you go 30 minutes outside, might be a lot less expensive.
Right.
So
that's very, very true. Well, we got one last thing here on the docket to talk about, guys, and this is kind of exciting. I'm really personally excited about this. Tomohiro, I can't say his name. Ishii is going to be joining Supercard of Honor. I cannot say Tomohiro. I can't just do it.
You just did.
That's how you say it. Tomohiro.
Yeah.
Just gotta keep trying.
See, I feel like my child right now. Like, let's spell it out. Say it out loud. God, I'm such
okay.
Wow. So anyway, well, Paul, this is great for Supercard of Honor. I'm excited.
Tanahashi, great. Kenny Omega, great. Cody, all the usuals for Ring of Honor show. That's great. Tomohiro Ishii, let me go buy a plane ticket. Let me find a way to New Orleans so I can watch him live, because I haven't done that yet, and I just feel like I need to. Like this, it's great. I love this guy so much, and it is a great addition to the show.
I want to see him walk through the cement wall. Oh, I mean, it's got to happen. Yeah, I really would want to see this as well if I had the ability to go buy a ticket and not have to worry about responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I would certainly be going right now at the announcement of Ishii being there. But sadly, real life sucks sometimes.
Yeah,
true.
It does.
What a shame Keith Lee doesn't work for the company anymore. Keith Lee and Ishii and Rev Pro was phenomenal. I'd love to see that live too.
God, that was so much fun. And yeah, if Ishii could go to that cement wall, it would be a special moment. But of course, you'd have to have that special mask that we saw WCW own. So we cannot let that happen. So I won't bring his name up here, but he'd have to have that mask.
Oh, Shockmaster!
You brought it up. I didn't say it. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, and once again, I want to mention this before we get out of here. I saw a little rumor here and there, and said Keith Lee and Walter, both those guys were rumored, to have offers from WWE. Do you take any credence from that at all?
If you believe Keith Lee, he said no. He says BS. I wouldn't be shocked if they're at least on the radar, right? These two guys have been crushing it absolutely everywhere WWE has eyes, and maybe where we don't know they have eyes. So, Keith Lee's obviously a big deal in Evolve right now. He's the WWN Live Champion. Walter's been doing a lot of stuff in Progress. And that's just another, hop, skip, and jump away from WWE now. So, not shocked that they're on the radar. But I don't know if there's necessarily deals on the table for him.
Fair enough. Well, there you go, guys. Well, that, of course, is our quick hits, and that's our show. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've had a lot of fun, guys. We need to let you know a few things. We, of course, doing this, are going to be having a great episode next Thursday. Of course, it'll be available Friday morning. Episode 289, Part 2. And that's going to involve a Fastlane preview. We're also going to give you guys some Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling TV taping reviews, and of course more great quick hits. If there's any big things coming out, we'll share them then. And of course, we'll give you a Superstar of the Week. So we've got a lot of cool stuff coming up this week. Also, don't forget to go check out all the great review shows that we have to offer. Paul and I did Monday Night Raw. You'll hear us talk a lot about Looney Tunes and some other great stuff. And come check us out on NXT this week. And then go join Harry Broadhurst, Liz Plaglosi, and of course, Mr. Brandon Bisco Bing for the SmackDown Live and 205 Live shows. They do a great job over there. And also, do me a favor. If you do listen to those shows, or even if you have not had a chance to listen to them in a long time, give them a shout out, and also make sure you name a small city. I don't care if you don't live in a small city. Just say you live in a small city, so they get too many of them that they'll be like, wow, this is crazy. I just want to see the response. Harry is going to be hilarious if he finds this out. So go give them a shout out. They do a great job. I just love that deal when they were talking on SmackDown Live. You just go check it out. Go check out this last week's episode and then check out this week. So also, WTMnet.com has a lot more to offer than just our shows. They have a lot of other great podcasts when it comes to the world of wrestling, and also video games, entertainment, and of course, sports. So go check out everything that the website has to offer. The best way to go get a hold of everything that we have to offer is the W2M Network. Go subscribe there, rate and review. If you just want us, Wrestling the Max is the place you go. Also, 411mania.com and LastRunProWrestling.com are great sites. They also have a lot of great things going on. There are partners in crime, so go support them. And that'll do us for this, of course, this episode. So I am your host, Gary Vaughan, and the other two great guys, Mr. Paul Leazar and Sean Garmer. And we will catch you guys down the road. Until then, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all,
you know it.
Peace.
The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.